right, welcome to the deep dive, everybody. Today we're going way back, over 2,000 years, actually,
Yeah.
to tackle a text that is considered really foundational by many people, and that is Chanakya's Arthashastra.
Oh, yeah, the Arthashastra. This is, it's not just some ancient text that's gathering dust on a shelf somewhere.
Right.
This is like a surprisingly relevant guide to so many things that we deal with today. I mean, it covers statecraft, economics, politics, warfare, intelligence gathering.
It's really remarkable when you think about it. I mean, we're talking about a text that was written, centuries and centuries ago, and yet the principles that it outlines
Still
resonate today. And that's really what we want to get into in this deep dive. We want to sort of pull out some of the most crucial insights from the Arthashastra and see how we might be able to apply them in our own lives, in our businesses, in our, in the 21st century.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how these ancient principles, still kind of hold up and what we can learn from them.
Yeah. So to really understand the Arthashastra, I think we need to first understand the man behind it, Chanakya, also known as Kautilya or Vishnugupta, depending on which source you're looking at.
Right. Yeah, he had a few names.
He did have a few names. He was this, brilliant scholar, a strategist, a political thinker who lived in ancient India. And he played this pivotal role in shaping the Maurya Empire, which was India's first truly major empire.
Right.
It's incredible to imagine the historical context here. You have this landscape of smaller kingdoms constantly at odds with one another, and then this one schooler emerges.
Yeah.
And he essentially orchestrates this massive political transformation.
Yeah. He was kind of like the architect of this whole empire. It's a crazy story.
It is. And the story goes that his motivation wasn't purely academic either.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this whole legend about how he was deeply insulted by a king.
Oh, yeah. Humiliated.
Yeah.
In public. And it was like this turning point.
It was like this fuel for his ambition. It's like, okay, I'm going to show you. And not just show you, but build this whole empire.
Build a better India.
Yeah.
A unified, strong India.
Yeah.
It's pretty inspiring, actually.
It is. And he did it. I mean, he became the key advisor to Chandragupta Maurya.
That's right.
This young, ambitious ruler. And he guided him, he mentored him, he gave him the strategic playbook. And the Arthashastra was essentially that playbook, right?
Yeah, it's like his guide for how to rule, how to run a kingdom effectively, how to, ensure its strength and stability.
Yeah.
And I think what's so fascinating is that it's not just this, theoretical treatise.
Right.
Right? Like, Chanakya actually put these principles into practice.
He did.
And they worked.
Yeah.
He helped Chandragupta become emperor.
He did.
And establish this massive empire. So it really speaks to the practical effectiveness of his teachings.
Yeah. That's what's so interesting to me about the Arthashastra. It's not just this here's some ideas about politics.
Right. That philosophical musing.
Yeah. It's very grounded in the real world. And when you actually delve into it, you realize it's so much more than just a book about politics or economics. It's like this massive 15-book deep dive into every facet.
Everything.
Of running a state.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got statecraft, diplomacy, espionage, military strategy, economics, taxation, law enforcement, psychology. I mean,
amazing.
Yeah, it's he's trying to create this system.
An operating system.
For
a kingdom.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
For running a successful state.
Mm-hmm. And one of the really, I think, core ideas that runs through the entire Arthashastra is captured in this quote, Arthasya Moolam Rajyam, which basically translates to, the foundation of wealth is a strong state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that quote. And it's so simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's so profound.
What do you think is the deeper meaning behind that?
Well, I think what Chanakya is getting at is that, you can't really have economic prosperity without a well-functioning government. It's like the foundation upon which everything else is built.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Even a country that's rich in natural resources can still be poor if it has a weak government, right?
Yeah.
If there's no rule of law, if there's corruption, if there's instability, it's very hard for businesses to thrive.
Right.
For people to create wealth, to invest.
Right.
So the state, the government, provides this structure, this framework within which everything else can flourish.
Yeah. And we see that all the time, right? In the modern world. You see countries that have incredible resources, but they're still
They're struggling. Because of instability.
Yeah, corruption. Lack of good governance.
Lack of good governance, exactly. And I think Chanakya recognized that, thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
It's not just about having power. It's about wielding that power effectively to create a society that is prosperous.
For the benefit of everyone.
And that's an interesting point because his focus wasn't solely on just like, the power of the ruler.
Yeah.
He was also very much concerned with the welfare of the people.
He believed that the king should act like a parent.
Oh, interesting.
To his people, that he should care for them, protect them, ensure their well-being. So the strength of the state wasn't just an end in itself, right?
Right.
It was a means to an end. And that end was the flourishing of the citizens.
I like that. I like that a lot. So now let's get into some of the more, I guess, tactical or practical aspects.
The nitty-gritty
Of the Arthashastra. And specifically, let's talk about his understanding of political strategy, international relations. I mean, this guy clearly had a very sophisticated understanding of how to navigate this complex world.
He was way ahead of his time.
He was. And his sixfold foreign policy is a perfect example of that. It's this framework for how a state should interact with other states, depending on the circumstances. And I think it's really fascinating how he breaks it down into these 6 different postures or policies.
Yeah. And what's so insightful about it is that he recognizes that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to foreign policy, right? You have to be adaptable. You have to be pragmatic. And you have to adjust your strategy based on your relative strength, the circumstances you're facing, and the goals you're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. So let's go through each of these 6 postures. The first one is Sandhi, which translates to peace.
Right.
What's the strategic thinking behind that?
Well, Sandhi is all about, pursuing peace when you're in a weaker position.
It's about forming alliances, building diplomatic ties, trying to avoid conflict.
Right.
Especially if you're facing a stronger adversary. It's about, buying time, strengthening your hand, and waiting for a more opportune moment to assert yourself.
Okay. Then you have Vigraha, which means war.
Right.
So when does that come into play?
Well, Vigraha is the opposite of Sandhi.
Right.
Right. This is when you're in a position of strength. You have a superior military, you have more resources, and you might choose to initiate conflict to achieve your objectives, whether it's expanding your territory, weakening a rival, or securing your borders.
Okay. The third posture is asana, which means neutrality. And this seems like it's kind of a waiting game.
Yeah, exactly. Asana is all about staying neutral, especially when 2 of your rivals are fighting each other. It's kind of like, sitting on the sidelines, letting them exhaust themselves while you conserve your strengths and kind of see how things play out. It's a very strategic way of maintaining your own position.
Right.
Without getting directly involved in a conflict.
Okay. Then there's yana, which is described as strategic movement.
Right.
So what kind of movement are we talking about here?
Well, yana is about making preparations for future action. Right. So it could involve, positioning your troops strategically, building up your military capabilities, securing alliances.
Right.
It's about putting yourself in a favorable position for potential future conflicts.
It's like the long game.
Yeah, it's the long game.
Yeah.
It's about thinking ahead and anticipating future challenges.
Okay. The 5th posture is samsraya, which means seeking shelter.
Right.
This kind of sounds like a last resort.
Yeah, samsraya is basically what you do when you're in a really tough spot. Right? When you're facing a much stronger enemy and you need to seek the protection of a more powerful ally. It's a recognition of your own limitations and a pragmatic decision to align yourself with someone who can help you survive.
Right.
It's about, choosing your battles.
Yeah.
And knowing when to seek help.
And then finally, you have Daidipava, which is the double policy.
Ah, yes. Vaidipava.
This one sounds
A little tricky.
a little tricky.
Yeah, this is the most complicated and potentially risky of the 6 postures
Right.
because it involves secretly supporting both sides
Wow.
of a conflict
Right.
while publicly remaining neutral.
So you're playing both sides.
You're playing both sides.
Yeah.
Trying to maximize your own advantage.
Yeah.
But it requires a lot of skill,
Yeah.
a lot of finesse, and a deep understanding of the players involved.
Yeah, you got to be really good at this.
Right. One wrong move, and it could backfire spectacularly.
That's a high risk, high reward kind of strategy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's amazing to me how, these strategic frameworks
Yeah.
were laid out so clearly thousands of years ago.
I know. It's incredible how insightful he was.
Yeah.
And you can see echoes of these principles in how nations interact today.
Absolutely. I mean, you see alliances forming, proxy conflicts, countries trying to play different sides against each other.
It's all still very relevant.
It's all still there. And it really is, I think, a testament to the timelessness of these insights.
Yeah. And, Chanakya is often compared to Machiavelli.
Right.
Right, because of his political savvy.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that Chanakya predates Machiavelli by about 1,800 years.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
So it really shows you how ahead of his time he was.
Yeah. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about economics, because it's clear that Chanakya saw a very strong link between a strong economy and a strong nation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
He understood that economic prosperity was essential for everything, right? It's what allows you to fund your military, to invest in infrastructure, to take care of your people. It's the foundation of a strong state.
Right, and he wasn't just, talking about it in the abstract either. He actually developed a very sophisticated, for its time, taxation system.
That's right. And he had some really interesting principles about taxation that I think are still relevant today.
Yeah. What were some of those principles?
Well, he believed that taxes should be fair and predictable, that they shouldn't be arbitrary or overly burdensome. And the goal was to raise revenue without stifling economic activity. He wanted people to be able to create wealth and for the economy to flourish.
Yeah.
And there's that famous quote where he says, "The king should collect taxes like a honeybee collects nectar gently without destroying the flower."
Oh, I love that quote.
It's such a beautiful image, right?
It is.
And it really captures that balance that governments have to strike between raising revenue and allowing the economy to thrive.
Right, because if you tax too much, if you tax too aggressively,
you kill the goose that lays the golden egg.
You kill the goose that lays the golden egg. Exactly. It's amazing to me how these ideas
They're so timeless.
Are so timeless. And it really makes you think about, our own tax policies today.
It does. Are we following those principles?
Yeah.
Are we being fair and efficient?
Are we striking the right balance?
It's a good question to ask.
Yeah. So let's move on to another area where Chanakya really excelled, and that's in warfare and intelligence gathering.
Oh yeah, this is where he gets really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he understood that warfare wasn't just about brute force, it was also about strategy, deception, and using intelligence effectively.
He was a master of espionage.
He was. He famously said an enemy should be defeated not just by strength, but by intelligence.
Right, and he really believed that.
Yeah. What did he mean by that?
Well, he believed that knowing your enemy, their strengths, their weaknesses, their intentions, was crucial to victory. That you could often achieve more through intelligence gathering, sabotage, disinformation, than you could through brute force alone.
And he had some pretty ingenious methods for gathering intelligence, right?
He was a big believer in spies.
Yeah.
He had networks of spies operating everywhere.
Wow.
In enemy kingdoms, in his own kingdom.
Wow.
Keeping tabs on officials, on public sentiment. He wanted to know everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And he was a master of using disinformation.
Right. Like that example we talked about earlier about spreading false rumors to create chaos in an enemy kingdom before launching an attack.
That's classic Chanakya.
Yeah.
It's about weakening your opponent psychologically before you even engage them on the battlefield.
Right. It's about sowing discord, creating confusion, and making them vulnerable.
Right.
And these tactics are still relevant today, right?
Absolutely. Think about modern intelligence agencies, cyber warfare, information warfare.
Yeah.
It's all about using information as a weapon. And Chanakya was really a pioneer in that.
Yeah. It's amazing how much of his thinking is still applicable today.
It's really remarkable.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot of ground here, but I think the really important question is, what can we take away from all of this?
Right.
How can we apply these ancient lessons from the Arthashastra in our own lives, in our businesses, in the 21st century?
Yeah. Well, I think there are a lot of takeaways for leaders, for entrepreneurs, for anyone who's trying to navigate a complex world.
Yeah. So let's break it down. For leaders, what do you think are some of the key insights from Chanakya?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is the importance of preparedness. Chanakya constantly stressed the need for a ruler to be vigilant, to anticipate threats, to have plans in place to deal with challenges.
Right.
And I think that's just as relevant for leaders today, whether you're running a company, a nonprofit, or a government.
Yeah. You got to be proactive.
You got to be proactive.
You got to be thinking ahead.
Right. You can't just wait for things to happen.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared for anything.
Right. What about for the business world? Are there any specific lessons that stand out?
Well, I think Chanakya's emphasis on building a strong financial foundation is really important for businesses. He understood that you need to manage your resources carefully.
Right.
You need to invest wisely, and you need to have a long-term perspective.
Yeah. You can't just be focused on short-term profits.
Right. You have to think about sustainability and building a business that can weather any storm.
Yeah. And what about on a personal level? Can we apply any of these principles to our own lives?
Oh, absolutely. I think the principles of strategy, intelligence gathering, planning, these are all relevant to our personal lives as well.
Yeah. It's like, thinking about your career.
Yeah.
Thinking about your relationships.
Your goals. Having a plan.
Having a strategy.
Yeah.
For achieving those goals.
I'm being adaptable.
Right. Being willing to adjust your approach.
Yeah.
As circumstances change.
Absolutely. So it seems like the Arthashastra really does have something to offer everyone.
Whether you're a CEO, a politician, or just someone trying to figure out life.
Yeah. It's a treasure trove of wisdom.
Yeah. And it's really inspiring to think that these ideas, which were written over 2,000 years ago, are still so relevant today.
It speaks to the enduring power of human nature.
Yeah.
And the challenges we face no matter what era we live in.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the Arthashastra, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
Take some time to consider how these principles might apply to your own life, to your own challenges, to your own goals.
Right. How can you be more strategic?
Yeah.
More prepared?
Yeah.
More intelligent in your approach to the world?
And maybe you'll find that these ancient ideas offer some unexpected solutions to the problems that we face today.
That's the beauty of these classic texts.
Yeah.
They're always relevant.
They are.
If you know how to read them.
They are. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.